Hello, everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Cardinals UK with Big Dave. Tonight, obviously, we've got Sarah back on the show. Sarah without a H, as I've been told to say before, and she knows. And we've got young Sydney. Now, I'm really pleased to have Sydney on tonight because when I first started doing Twitter Spaces, it's always a bit of a gamble. And one night, Sydney's name appeared on our show, and obviously we decided to let her on, and it's one of the best things that we did. And she's been a real great contributor to what goes on out in the States with baseball and stuff. So welcome both. Sarah, good to see you again, mate. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, great to see you.
No, it is good. Sydney, been wonderful to speak to you, and it's the first time we've all seen face to face. So thank you for coming on tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, it is, and I've just finished a 12-hour shift, and it's like 1:45 in the morning, nearly. No, just gone 12:30 over here. So, but I'm keen to get this on before the season actually starts. I'm looking over the computer screen at the moment. Is the Korean game on live now?
Is it today? I have not paid attention at all.
I've got something on, and it's Washington versus Houston. So I'm not quite sure what game that is, but I'll have a look later. But it's all about pre-season tonight. It's a slightly different show for us tonight, and I know I spoke to Sarah recently, and she's never done a spring training game. Have you, Sarah?
I have not. No, it's on my wish
No.
list though.
It is, yeah, and I must admit, watching it on the TV, especially the Florida games where the sun is shining, the sky is blue, and to be honest with you, over in the UK at the moment, it's really miserable. But I know Sydney has done quite a few games. Was it 9 games in 9 days?
Yeah, this year, 9 games in 9 days in the Cactus League in Arizona.
Right. So over to you now for the next half an hour. Me and Sarah are going to go and get a drink. So can you just sort of like give me and Sarah, and obviously everyone that's listening, a flavour of what to experience at a spring training game? Because as we discussed before, for us in the UK, it's a bit of a unique things this spring training. It's sort of like in the UK with soccer, you might get 5 or 6 pre-season games against the lower league opposition just to get the players' fitness levels, etc. But can you just go through what you experienced at spring training, ticket prices, the vibes, what you got up to? Go for it and go through the games because obviously I don't know what games you went to.
Sure. So I did 9 in 9 days, which was it was actually a lot of fun. I thought I might get burnt out a little bit, but it was really fantastic just seeing all the different stadiums, and some of the stadiums out here are incredibly beautiful, especially since a lot of them are newer than the ones like down in Florida. So I started on Friday, like after classes ended, and that was at the Red Stadium, and they played the Diamondbacks. And then I went to 8 different stadiums after that. So then I did the Giants, the A's, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, the White Sox, the Rangers, the Angels, and the Brewers. So 9 in a row. Saw the Padres play, I think, twice, the Diamondbacks 3 times, which was really fun. Saw a few old Cardinals, which was also very fun. I got really close to Andrew Kisner at an A's game, which is when I sent you guys that photo. So it was nice to
Yeah, yeah,
see
yeah.
him. And yeah, it was a great experience. I really wanted to go just because I'm new to Arizona. I've been to probably half the stadiums in Florida. My family lives down there and we used to go. And now since I'm out here, the stadiums are much closer than they are in Florida. All the ones in Florida, you can drive several hours between stadiums. They're all over the state. Whereas here, they're all probably within 30 to 40 miles of each other. So my furthest drive, I think, was like 30-ish minutes to get to a stadium, which was awesome.
Yeah, that's
Um,
great.
yeah, so that was really easy for me to do over my spring break. In terms of the environment, I like spring training just because it's so much more intimate than it is in the 45,000 seat stadiums that we have elsewhere in MLB. Here, some of these stadiums only fit 10,000 people, so it's more of a minor league feel. A lot of them are minor league stadiums, and you're really up close and personal for much, much cheaper tickets. For example, I sat at the Diamondbacks Stadium, which is one of the most beautiful stadiums I've ever seen, even better than some major league stadiums, in my opinion. They had, I was sitting fourth row behind the dugout, and I got my ticket for like $40. It's pretty cheap compared to a normal game ticket. I sat second row at a Dodgers game. That was my most expensive ticket, and that was maybe like $65. And I got to see Ohtani and the whole Dodgers lineup play, which was awesome. So you really can't beat spring training prices, and you still get to see all the players. Not as long because they don't play the whole game, but you do get to see them all pretty up close.
Yeah, I was going to say that. And when you see some of these, and some of them are superstars, close up, and actually they are humans. And it is. And when you watch people on television all the day, you don't realise that sometimes. And getting up close and personal. Now, we've got an expression in the UK called bottling it. If you bottle something, that means you lose your nerve. And I accused you of that with Knisner, because you got that close to him and you didn't say anything at all to him. And I thought you were going to.
So I considered it. I almost said like go Cardinals. I was like, I probably shouldn't say that. But I will say I've been to so many
Did you
games at
bottle
this
it? You
point, and
bottled it.
I think my dad has rubbed off on me when it comes to baseball. We are very much like we're pretty quiet people at games. I like to keep the score a lot of the time. I like to kind of just pay attention to the game. I usually don't like going with my friends before that same reason, which is hilarious. But the one thing I don't like about spring training, some people are so demanding of the players. And like, I don't know if it's just like being a former athlete, when you're locked in, warming up, like that's your time to focus and prepare and get ready. And like, these are professional athletes. So I hate the fans who are just like screaming at them, like up against the fence, like give me an autograph, just like pestering them constantly, or who get mad at them if they don't give them an autograph. I just want to be like, they're warming up for a game. Like they need to prepare. They have a routine. Like let them do their job. And then, after the game, maybe you can ask them. So that is the one thing I don't like. And I didn't want to be that person with Andrew Kisner. So I
That's
didn't
fair
say
enough.
anything.
In that case, I will let you off. Sarah, do you want to fire anything at Sydney about spring training?
That's one of the things I was going to ask is how do the players react to that? I know that some of them are a little bit more open to interacting, especially with little kids. But was there anybody that stood out to you that was, really friendly before or after the game, signing autographs, things like that?
Yeah. So the ones who stand out the most to me, probably because I saw them the most and know them the best, were the Diamondbacks players. They have a lot of very young players, and I think for them, they're the ones who are more likely to interact with kids. I think just because, it wasn't that long ago that they were also kids.
Yeah.
So, like Corbin Carroll, even though he was doing his pregame routine, when he would head to the dugout, he'd sign like one or two autographs. Alec Thomas did the same. So I definitely think you see the younger guys doing it a lot more. The one that always stood out to me in when I was going to Florida games, when Max Scherzer played for the Nationals, we would go watch them. And it was so funny seeing people try to bother Max Scherzer. Because like of all people to bother, you're going to try to bother Max Scherzer when he's warming up. Like I would be surprised if he, cussed you out for that. Like he's such an intense person. But overall, I would say a lot of players didn't really interact with the fans. And sometimes that's just logistically how the field is set up. Like the Dodgers stadium, if I remember right, it was a little more sunken down. So the fans couldn't really get that close to the players, even against the fence. Security was also pretty intense there just because of how many people were there to see Ohtani. Whereas, the Diamondbacks, you were right up on the fence with the first row of seats, so you could get right against the players. So yeah, overall, I'd say it's a pretty mixed bag. I do think it tends to be the young guys. And then sometimes you'll see like Corbin Carroll did this in one game. You may have noticed, I don't know how much they showed on TV, but during spring training, the stars, the veterans, they get their 2 to 3 at bats, and then they'll like head to the locker room like they're done for the day. They don't stick around for the whole game. So again, depending on the stadium, the locker room could be outside of the field and they have to run down the field. So Corbin Carroll like gave a bat to a kid like on his way out at one point, which was really cool because he didn't really have time to sign an autograph because the game was like going on. So he just like tossed him his bat and kept going. So I know that was on social media. I'm sure that kid was very happy.
Yeah, I think things like that give opportunity for superstars to sort of like engage and make a child's day. And that kid for now is going to embrace baseball now, and that's like a special moment. And I think in modern time, even with sport over here, they are sort of untouchable sometimes. Some of these players, and they hide behind the media or their agents and stuff like that. And sometimes it's just nice to get out and about and meet the real fans. And I love all things like that. Um, in the crowd, what was the atmosphere like? Was it pretty chilled out in some of these games, or was it quite intense? Or you're smiling at something?
So it was a mixed bag. I would say some of the crowds were pretty chill. So almost all the games I went to were day games. The only one that was a night game was the first game I went to against the Reds and the Diamondbacks. The rest were day games, which I think generally are a little bit more laid back than night games. I will say there were quite a few people who'd probably consumed a few too many beers at 1 o'clock in the Arizona sun. I had a very inebriated guy behind me during the Giants game, and that was pretty funny to witness. But you would hear some fans who were, kind of the classic fans who get really angry when something goes wrong and think that, oh my gosh, the world's ending, which to me was hilarious because it's a spring training game and half the guys on the field are like, double A prospects potentially. So it was definitely a mixed bag. Being in Phoenix, similar to Florida, there are a lot of retirees out here. So I'd often sit next to like older couples or just there are a lot of like tour groups who will do spring training tours. So it's kind of fun. I love sitting by them because they always ask me questions like if I'm keeping score, or they'll ask me like what team I'm here to support, and I have to tell them that my team is in Florida. So those are always really fun. So I'd say, yeah, it's a pretty mixed bag of either, fans who are just there to get really drunk and have fun with their team, as well as people who are just there to enjoy the baseball and have fun.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what category I fall into really, but if it's in between, I'm there because I like a couple of beers, but I'm there for the game as well. Even when I met Sarah in London, we only had a few beers before the game, didn't we? We didn't overdo it. So I actually wanted to go and watch the game, and
Yeah.
maybe had a few afterwards, but that's another story. But um, I always think with what you guys call it spring training, I find it very hard with American terminology because obviously we call it like pre-season training and stuff like that. And and I think it's a lot of loyal fans go to these games just to sort of like chill out and watch the games really and get close and personal. And it's good value for money. What about the vendors? Do they still sell the food that you would expect at a stadium? And do they make money out of these spring training games, or is it literally just for the players' benefit?
Yeah, so I actually just saw the other day, was it Yahoo Sports? They were doing kind of like an article about some players think spring training is too long, some players really like it and the length that it is. And they actually said that this or last season in Arizona in the Cactus League, it brought in about $700 million in revenue to like the Phoenix area. So it's very lucrative. People that I just overheard speaking, a lot of people fly in like over their spring break and just go to watch games. A lot of like bachelor parties, bachelorette parties. So it's very lucrative as far as I'm aware. I'm sure some stadiums more than others. Like I'm sure the Dodgers are just raking in money this year. Same with the Diamondbacks. I mean, their stadium's beautiful. So people really like that one. But I will say the food and everything, it's typical ballpark food. The one thing I do really like that they've done out here is since the stadiums are a little bit more accessible, none of them are closed stadiums like the actual Diamondback Stadium is here. A lot of them have like food trucks in the outfield areas, like out in the lawn and stuff. So there's a lot more options than I think you would normally see at just like a standard MLB game, just because they can bring in. I mean, I saw donuts, food trucks, snow cones, tacos, like pretzels, all types of stuff that was a little bit different than the normal stadium fare. So I thought that was kind of cool too, bringing in local businesses, letting them set up at the ballpark. They don't have as many options as the normal MLB stadiums. It's more basic, nachos, hot dogs, maybe barbecue. So having those extra little pieces is nice.
Can't go wrong with that. Sarah, do you want to think anything you want to ask Sydney?
How's the weather been there? I mean, I've been to Arizona in the summertime and it's absolutely miserable. So I'm assuming it's a little bit nicer right about now.
Yeah, the night game I went to, it does drop pretty significantly at night out here, maybe about 30 degrees, which is pretty wild. So the night game I did take like a jacket. The first I'm looking at my calendar right now. The first like 3 or 4 games I went to, I got the worst tan lines I may have ever had. The sun, even when it's only, 70 degrees, the sun is really intense out here. But then my game against, which game was it? I think it was my one with the Rangers, which was the furthest stadium out. The Rangers and the Royals share one. It dropped to like 50 degrees. It rained the whole time. It was windy, which like for us, 50 degrees is very cold. So yeah, that was not a fun game at all. Yeah, it was just pouring rain the entire time, but they didn't call it. So that was not fun. And then the rest of the games from then on were pretty warm and sunny. So I only had one bad day out of the group. Overall, the weather's great out here. I think we've gone through our last kind of like cold spell. And now it's starting to heat up. Like I think it's going to be 80 degrees on Friday.
Oh, there's some of that over here. Right. So now you're the expert on spring training. Who's going to win? Who's the players that caught your eye? It's all over to you
Ooh.
now. Where's my money going?
Okay, players who caught my eye. Again, I'm gonna look at my little calendar to see if I can remember everybody who I was thinking about. So I'll say the Reds actually looked pretty good on offense. I know people have been talking about how they've really improved this year. So they did do really well on offense, but terribly on defense. I think they had 4 or 5 errors the game that I watched. And the Diamondbacks ended up out hitting them, which was great. But overall, the Reds hitting looked pretty solid. They didn't have all the starters in, but prospects looked good as well. I'd say the one that I think was a little bit more disappointing, the Padres really did not look very good. Even like I said, I saw them play like 2 or 3 times, and even with all their starters in, I was kind of surprised at how little they scored. And then also the one that I think really surprised me was the White Sox. They were playing the Dodgers. They share their stadium. And that was when I saw Paul DeJong, which was awesome. He was like 3 for 3. He had a great game. But the White Sox did really well. And I know they've really had their struggles this year. So seeing them and kind of like watching their lineup go through, I was like, they actually have a pretty solid lineup. So those were the teams who kind of like caught my eye. Other than the Diamondbacks, I really enjoy watching them play and their style. Sorry, there's like the sun's coming through my window right now. I like their style. I like their speed. It's great. Individual players who caught my eye. I mean, like I said, Paul DeJong, I was like, this is the best I've seen him hit like ever. So that was kind of cool to see. And then, again, I'm biased towards my Diamondbacks, so I won't say too much about them, but their lineup looks really solid right now. If you're playing fantasy, I mean, Corbin Carroll is about as good as you can get. He's fantastic to watch. So big fan of him. Yeah, I honestly, some of the young prospects whose names I don't remember at this point, and I'm sure they may not make it to the majors this year. Even the A's, they're young guys who I saw in AAA in Vegas, because their team is in Vegas. They looked really solid. Zach Geloff is the one that people keep talking about, that he's going to be kind of their big guy this year. And I can see that based on how he performed in spring training so far.
That's interesting because obviously when we all spoke on Saturday, blimey, only a couple of days ago, about teams that we thought might do well next season, and obviously everyone was saying, well, the Dodgers have to do well. Now you've seen them, or did you not really see them?
No, I did. They played their full starting lineup the day I was there, which was awesome. So Freddie Freeman is Freddie Freeman. He had a grand slam. That was great. Ohtani obviously is great. The White Sox, honestly, both pitchers that day. So it was Yamamoto started for the Dodgers, and then oh gosh, who was it for the White Sox? No. I don't remember his name. I'll have to go back and look at my scorebook. It's one of their regular guys, but they both threw so many balls and walked so many people. I think there were probably 7 walks between them. And they only each pitched like 3 or 4 innings. So it was slow going. Yamamoto definitely struggled to find the strike zone, but I was really impressed with, I kind of didn't realize how small he was. And normally some of these players, you know, when you're in the big major league stadium, you see them from a distance and they don't look as big. And then you see them up close, you're like, that guy's massive. Yamamoto was the complete opposite. I was like, this guy, he might be shorter than me. I'm 5'8", and he's like skinnier than me and might be shorter than me. So that alone was impressive, that like he can throw like that at that size is pretty incredible. But he struggled to find the strike zone, which the White Sox took advantage of. They scored a lot of runs in those first few innings. Mookie Betts is inhuman. I don't understand how someone can be so good at so many different positions and do so well. It's pretty incredible. I do think it's kind of wild that they are moving Gavin Lux. He did play in the game that I was watching and I think had 2 errors. So when I got that news, I was like, okay, I can see why. But overall, I mean, the Dodgers are good. They're always going to be good. They're the Dodgers. But it was really exciting being here in Phoenix last year, watching the game when the Diamondbacks hit those like 4 home runs against Clayton Kershaw. That was awesome. And I am really excited to see how the Diamondbacks are against them this year too. Hold on, I'm gonna move back. There we go.
Nice to
I'll
see
move back a little bit.
Yeah, it's nice to see a bit of sunlight. Sarah, got anything else for Sydney about spring training?
No, I think we covered all of it.
It's really cool. Right, we've got a few more minutes yet. Now, we did discuss it on Saturday. We won't go into it too much, but do you want to have a brief chat about Ollie Marmol and his contract? I haven't seen any more updates or anything else. So do you want to just touch on how we felt or the feeling of the Spaces group from Saturday night?
Yeah. I think I mentioned this a little bit. I am kind of surprised they did it now because I just don't understand why they couldn't have waited. Because to me, if you do it now, either way, people are annoyed. Because we just came off a terrible season. We haven't started this season. Spring training, you know, we're getting all these injury reports. It's spring training, so like, you know, it's not the end of the world in terms of like winning or losing. But it's just a bad time. People are not going to be happy about that. Whereas, you know, if you wait till the end of the season and either we turned it around, had a great season compared to last year, and you announce the extension, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe that makes sense. Like he seems to settle in. Or he has a terrible season again and gets fired. Either way, it's a better decision, I think, to do it at the end of the season or like partway through the season instead of right now. So to me, I don't know what they gained from doing it right now other than, you know, security for him, but you could do that behind the scenes and nobody talk about it to like the media. So I don't know. I thought it was a little bit weird. I'm glad he's like getting, you know, he has another shot. I just think the timing of this was very strange.
No, that's fair enough. I'm just going to get another glass of wine. You two talk to each other. I'll get my daughter to edit this bit out. 1 second.
Okay. Sarah, are you, I am planning to go to St. Louis in August when they play the Rays. So how often do you go to games?
Last couple of years, I've gone to about half of the home games. So yeah, 30 or so. Yeah, I'm not sure how many I'll go to this year. Normally by now I will have bought a lot of tickets because they have all the deals. I have not bought a single ticket yet this year. I'm gonna go, but I'm having a hard time kind of getting excited about it. But yeah, I mean, last year especially, I would go just because people that I knew were going. Like that was the place where I would meet people. So yeah, I am definitely up for going, and yeah, we need to convince Dave to come over too.
I know. Yeah, I'm definitely, I'm trying to get my parents to come, at least my dad, if not my mom, to come too, because they're Rays fans now that they live in Florida. And I have a friend from high school who plays for the Rays, so they adopted them because of him, basically.
Nice.
But yeah, so I will be there likely, like I think it's the second week of August that they play.
Okay.
So it'll be my first time back since I worked there. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it should be fun. It's always fun, no matter what. I mean,
I
good
must admit,
season, bad season, we still have fun.
that's one of the things that attracted me, like the fan base and watching the stadium on the telly. And I did overhear you while I was pouring my wine over there that I do fully intend to come out to St. Louis at some point. I was hoping it'd be this year, but we're not. We're waiting to see at the moment. If not, definitely the year after. And I think I'm hoping we're going to be in for a decent season. Now they've put a bit of faith into Ollie. He's sort of like he hasn't got that dead man walking contract over his head now, and I think it's a real opportunity for him to sort of like prove himself. I really hope he does anyway, to be fair.
Yeah, me too. Because I think this will also really, this will be interesting to see just in terms of like the contracts that are up at the end of this season and, you know, who wants to stay and who wants to go. And vibes were not very good last year. So I'm
No,
hoping that they can kind of turn it around, get, you know, get Newt out there to, you know, make everybody happy and just hopefully have a good time.
yeah, I think so, and I think if the card, and to be fair, even when I spoke to on this YouTube channel with the Cubs UK guy, you know, if they have a good season as well and we have a decent season, it makes the Central a lot more interesting, and you know, and I really hope hope we do well, and I really mean that because it was a bit disappointing last year, and you know, we'll always support our team, but you just want to, especially with us over here, like you know, it could be 1, 2 in the morning, you start for a game, and if you're getting battered all over the place, it can be a bit frustrating sometimes. But no, I really appreciate this, guys, tonight. Sydney, I think a really good insight into spring training because it's something that we don't really get over here, as I said before. And I think was it 30 games, Sarah? Was it something like that?
That's roundabout, yeah, how many they
Yeah.
play.
It's a lot of games, but obviously it's got to be worthwhile for the organisations to do it. But you know, thank you for Sydney for coming on tonight. I really appreciate it. Sarah,
Yeah,
as always, thank you, mate, for coming on. But
yeah, absolutely.
that's been a really good insight. This is Big Dave representing the Cardinals in the UK. Thank you to Sydney and thank you for Sarah. See you soon.
Thanks for having us.
Cheers, guys.
Bye-bye.